Yeah, it's
I
cool.
like I like the look, by the way. Plant in the background, like little bookshelf on the right. It's cool.
Thanks. It's actually I use Zoom for my like everyday job too. And so
Cool.
this is like my therapy background that
Cool.
is and plus obviously I like to read.
Yeah, I hope so. It's a lot of decoration if you don't like it.
Yeah, it's very expensive decorations for not wanting to go through and read them. Although I
Yeah,
probably only read like 30% of them. I have a
that's
lot.
fine. You'll get around to it.
Hopefully. How are you doing today?
I'm good, yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. What time is it in Scotland?
It is 6 p.m.
Oh, okay.
We're
On what day?
Thursday.
Okay.
How about you? Where are you?
I am in Idaho in the States.
Cool.
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. here.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be functioning yet. I'm a late one.
I'm trying to. I've been up for a while. But I'm definitely my brain's definitely a little bit sluggish still.
Yeah, I'm a coffee addict, so if I could give you any advice, I would say espresso is the one.
Usually I do have coffee in the morning, but before interviews, sometimes it'll make me anxious and jittery. And so I wait until after, like if I have morning interviews, I'll wait until after the interviews to drink it.
It's a good idea. I'm the exact same. I'm an anxious man at the best of times. So
Yeah, and caffeine and it's such a gamble because sometimes I don't know if it's the same with you, but sometimes I can drink coffee and be fine and not have any anxiety that, pulls from it. And then other times it just amplifies it. And so it's like, okay, well, let's see how today goes. Let's see if it
yeah, yeah, roll the dice.
exactly. Yeah. So let's get to the album. It comes out on August 11th. It's your third album. It is such an emotional album. You guys tackle so many different subjects in it. I started going through and taking notes with all the different lyrics, just assuming because the album's called Recovery that it was going to be all about addiction and just the traditional addiction. And boy, I was so wrong. There's so many things that you tackle in there from obviously depression to loss to addiction to cell phones. I mean, all over the board. I think that Blue is about losing a child. Is that correct?
It is, yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a heartbreaking song and situation. It was really hard in the best way to get through because it was making me so emotional. And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this interview? And I can't get through this album without without crying.
Yeah.
So
I
very
apologize
beautifully
for that.
done. No, don't apologize. That's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. People that are experiencing the things that you're abuse was one of them too. Things that
Yeah.
are have experienced the and are experiencing the things that you guys talk about. It's such a therapeutic thing to be able to do for people to help them feel not alone, and help them feel
Sure.
that there's other people that are experiencing these things as well. How was it creating it?
It's good. It's like you said, it's a very emotional outlet for me personally as well. Like I get to when I get full control of lyrical content. So they get the guys in the band are all my best friends. I love them so much, but they are so kind to me in the fact that if I do anything, they're like, "Man, just run with it, just do your thing." And it's fun that you said that it's like therapeutic because for me it is almost a form of therapy. It's a lot of people get brought up on the you shouldn't always talk about your feelings, especially if your feelings are quite sad. It's okay to share the happy thoughts, but maybe keep the sad ones to yourself a little. And so I'm in quite a privileged space to be able to just air my dirty laundry to the world and and for me it really clears my head, and it's almost like without putting it into our music, I think I would just spiral around in my brain. But sometimes just saying it out loud almost minimizes the problem, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. And then
Absolutely.
also being able to listen back to it as just me as a selfish person in inherently, um it's nice to listen back to it and know how I felt at that time and then be able to judge how I feel now based on that. And it's almost like an anchor point to see where you were then, and you always know where you are now. And most of the time that is a better journey. Do you know what I mean? You're in
Mhm.
a better place, and it's really it's good for me. It's sad writing it, and it's sad coming up with it. It's sometimes quite anxious to like put it out there because I don't know if I'm going too far. I mean, I mentioned
Mhm.
one blues about the loss of a child, and that's a horrible thing to talk about for anyone.
Yeah.
But to be able to air that for me, it's so it sets my head straight.
Mhm.
So it's good. I just apologize that sometimes people just want to hear a rock record or something, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty deep.
Yeah, well, you know what? And then they can switch over to, whatever else that helps like cushion it, but I think
Yeah,
that it's very important to um have these types of songs out here again, to help people feel not alone. It's interesting. It's so you're very thoughtful about the whole process. It's very interesting to hear you talk about. It's almost like journaling. When you write it down, it feels, I think, more manageable. I think a lot of people, when they're holding back those thoughts or those feelings, it feels like it's too overwhelming to be able to say or write down or whatever. So I think with what you're doing, not only writing it, singing about it, putting it out there, is a big part of when you said makes it. I can't remember what minimizes it. I think is a word you used. It
yeah,
does. It makes it feel more manageable when.
yeah. That's it. I'm glad that that comes across. I just sometimes concern myself with the idea of like it must come across as slightly selfish because it is literally, like you said, an open journal to the world. And
Yeah.
but I do think it's relatable to a lot of people, and I think the core of it is that like I'm a big believer that like every human in the world, we're all kind of the same. And so if I've ever felt something and spoke about it and someone else has felt that, then hopefully they can find some kind of like, I don't know, solace in the idea that it does happen to other people,
Yeah.
and that these feelings, even though to you at the time can feel like this is mental, like no one
Hmm.
else knows what's going on,
Hmm.
just to hear that they exist somewhere else is comforting. It is for me. A lot of my favorite music is quite emotional music, and that's why I got into it, because I was a stupid little kid going, "Oh, I feel weird," and then bands were like talking about how they felt weird, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's okay."
Oh my gosh. That I think that's one of the best things about metal in general. It has people that don't listen to metal, obviously there's such a negative connotation, it's all evil, it's all whatever. But it's such a I think it's a home for people that are deep thinkers and deep feelers, that have struggled with, yeah, feeling alone, especially the teenage years. Like it's such a weird time, so having people just be comfortable with talking about it, I think is so important. And I'm sure other music genres do that, but I don't know if they do it as much or as raw as metal does.
Oh, absolutely. Like I'm a lover of pop music. I really do love like just a banger. It's great. But if you listen to the radio, 9 times out of 10, it's about sex, money, or relationships, and that's it.
Mhm.
And sometimes feels like those things can maybe be the most important things because it's all you hear in, in shops and stores and stuff, because that's what's plumbed in, because it's what's popular and stuff. That you have to focus entirely on these three major things. Do you have enough money? Are you finding the right person? And it's just stuff like that. And I think there's a lot more in what goes on in a human life. And I think you're entirely right. The fact that metal isn't afraid to talk about the other sides of that, I think, is one of the things that drew me to it anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely same. So yeah, I don't think you use the word selfish. I mean, what are you going to do? Sing about other people's experiences?
I
Like,
suppose.
I mean, that's what being able to be a lyric writer gives you the opportunity to do is be able to put your stuff out there if you choose to. And I think it's so important, and I think it's great what you guys are doing. Um, it's been a really long time since I've had an emotional reaction to something that I haven't like I've been very thankful and blessed to not struggle with depression for a long time. I do have anxiety, and and panic disorder, that's a beast. But a lot of these other things, and loss, obviously, of course, we all go through, but it's been a long time since I've felt so emotional about something that I'm not experiencing at the time. Usually, it's more of that like connection of, oh, I feel this right now versus, oh, I felt that before. So you
Yeah.
guys do just a really good job of making it very genuine and raw. And um that's rare, to
Yeah.
make
No.
it that surface.
Yeah. I sometimes get this is it's ridiculous. Some people call it a strength and some people call it a weakness, and I don't know which one it is, but I always get told, even from like my girlfriend or like guys in my band, they're like, man, it's all very to the point. Like, there's not a lot of metaphor here. There's not a lot of like beautiful imagery. It's just you saying your stuff. And some people say like it comes across as raw and real, and that's good and that's great. And other people think that I'm just not smart enough to come up with metaphor, so I just say it. And honestly, the second people are probably right. But yeah, for
The
me,
metaphor in there with the oil painting and the
I've got a couple.
yeah. Oh, I no. But
Yeah,
I,
but
I
no,
I mean, people don't have to read between the lines though. People that just, I mean, because when you're in those experiences, when you're in those parts of life, you don't want to have to search for that meaning. You
absolutely.
want it black and
Yeah,
white.
I've always said I try to make everything that we do lyrically, I try to make it conversational, as if you could be a part of the conversation,
Mhm.
like I know exactly what this person's saying, I understand how they feel in this moment, and I can then understand that and take what I can from it. I
Mhm.
feel like if I was to speak to you shrouded in metaphor all the time and stuff, you'd lose me, you'd lose what I was
For
saying.
sure.
So if I just keep it straight down the middle, this is kind of what I'm talking about,
Mhm.
then for me it feels like it's more relatable.
Yeah, definitely. So do you have people come up to you guys at the shows and like do the same thing like, "Oh my gosh, I this is something I've experienced or this really touched me because it's something I'm going through right now or really
Yeah,
helped me through."
I've had a lot of that, which is it's strange, right? Because it's a huge privilege for anyone in my position, for these people to trust me enough based on something that I've said in a song that, like I said, is personal to me, that gets through to them. For them to then trust me enough to tell me their side of it is it's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing to be a part of. I just sometimes feel like sometimes I feel bad because I'm like, I'm actually not able to help. I'm just able to like listen. And I think that's always the thing. And I'm always happy to listen. I just don't have answers, because my answer is I throw in a song and it helps me. But
Mhm.
then not everyone has that ability to do that. So I'm always there to help and listen to people. And it's amazing that people have given us that trust. But sometimes I'm like, I really need to I need to get into therapy so that I can help better. Because in the moment, I'm just like, that sucks. I totally know. Do you want to get a drink? Or like, and yeah,
You I will tell you, I actually am a therapist. I will tell you that that is more than enough. 99% of what I do is just give people a safe place to be able to say what they need to say and have to say. Your answer with if you had an answer to these things, your answer might not be their answer. It might be a totally different journey, even though you're experiencing the same life thing. So just being a listening ear and doing what you're doing with putting this stuff out there is what isn't more than enough. I mean, there's nothing else you can do.
yeah. I'm glad that you told me that as a qualified individual, because that does help. But yeah, it is a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing to be told these stories and to be a part of that and to be welcomed into that quite intimate side of that person's life just for a moment.
Yeah.
And I always leave feeling proud that I've had the interaction. And I think the people leave feeling that maybe they got a little weight off their chest that they kind of needed
Mhm,
to. And
mhm.
after just doing it for an hour myself, spreading everything into a room, it's the least you would expect for you to listen to someone else's problem. I mean, they've just
Mhm.
been forced to listen to mine for an hour. So
Not
uh,
forced, they chose to.
true. But yeah, so it's a beautiful thing to be a part of.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really, really, I mean, such an important thing in the world to be able to offer. It's such an important thing that you're doing. I mean, I'm genuinely meaning and saying that how important what you're doing is. And I hope that that is something that you continue to recognize and realize. On top of, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, on you go. Sorry.
On top of the heaviness of all of it, because it is a lot, not only to, put it out there, to be nervous about, putting it out there and to perform it. I'm sure some days it's difficult with having to relive some of that stuff. What are some things that you do to like protect yourself, to balance it for self-care?
Um, Thank you for recognizing that. Sometimes I feel a little bit like a drama queen when like just with my friends, I would never show it to anyone else, but like they're all like, "Oh, excited for the show," and there's a little part of me that's like, "Yeah, are we doing that one though?" And I'm not ready to do that one. And but
Mhm,
then if it's for the show and I do it, it always feels better afterwards.
mhm. Good.
The honestly the best answer I can give to that is that like the other guys in the band are like my rocks, right? Like they're my best friends of all time. They give me such beautiful opportunity to do anything that I want and support me in every single way that like if I'm feeling down about something, they'll listen and they'll like as a group of friends, especially five guys, just like it's weird because normally you wouldn't have like these in-depth chats and stuff, but I live with the drummer. Kieran is my flatmate, and once a week we have a sit down in the living room and just go, "Hey man, how was your week? How are you feeling? Are you okay?" And like having that support network in my best friends is it just gets me through anything. So I might be a bit anxious to do something one night, but they'll all give me a high five and be like, "Man, you've got it. Just go and do it, and you'll feel better after it." And 100% of the time they're right.
That's so awesome. And that's so amazing. It is so hard, I think, for men to discuss emotions because like that's what you're told not to, right? You're told not to, you don't share those things, you don't talk about those things. I do feel like that has been changing, over time. And I think it's such an important thing for men to be able to have those conversations and lean on each other. So what a cool thing that you and your flatmate, is that what you said? We call him roommates. So
Yeah. He's my roommate. Yeah. Yeah. No, he's Kieran. He's a good dude. But all of them are great. And on that point as well, I will say like especially there is a focus on that often men don't talk about their stuff, but I've noticed, and I know a lot of women who bottle things up to try and be the strong woman. You know what I mean? And to try and be like my mom, for example. My dad passed away when I was younger, and she had to raise two kids on her own, and she is like one of the strongest people I know. But I know that there's hurt in there. She just won't show me because she's too good. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's more it's although the men thing is often a thing, I think a lot of women also struggle to really break it down and like
for sure.
really get into it, and that's something I'd like to see a change in as well. Like I think it's just human. Honestly, I think it's
Yeah.
just human that we worry that what we're putting out into the world might be perceived as bad.
Mhm.
And that's difficult for everyone, but as soon as the ball starts rolling, I feel like other people can jump on it and be like,
Mhm.
well, you know, maybe I'll be brave enough to say this one thing. And then once that one thing goes down well with the people that you're talking to, and they're like, hey, it's okay, let's do this, then that gives you the courage to say, well, actually, there's more. And then there's those people, again, if they love you, if they care about you, they're going to be there. And
Mhm.
it's such an important thing. And I do
Yeah.
not spearhead any of that. I'm just a dickhead in a band. but I do love the idea that people will open up more about how they feel because it's a terrifying and very busy world. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
good to
And
talk
being
about it.
vulnerable, I think in general is a scary feeling. And so that vulnerability is a difficult thing to overcome. But I agree, once you're able to overcome it with safe people, then it feels less scary and that vulnerability becomes more of a like a superpower.
I couldn't agree more.
So with your mom, being the we don't talk about emotions, is she like super supportive or is she like, what are you doing?
She's great. She's great. She's an angel among men, and genuinely the most supportive, always let me focus on music. I will be honest, funded it for a very long time.
Yeah.
Not in any way. She's a single parent and works minimum wage, but anything that I needed, bought me guitars at Christmas and stuff just to keep the thing alive.
Mm.
And we open up, we're cool, but she's good. She doesn't like listening to it because she's not really metal focused.
Yeah.
She's a lovely 59-year-old woman and looking great for it. But she knows what I do and she respects it. And sometimes I think it's hard for her to hear her son talk about these things in context of a song. But if I
Mhm.
ever bring it up to her in person, we just sit and have a chat and it's great. So
Mm.
excellent
That's
woman. Fiona, you're the dream.
that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. Yeah, she sounds like an amazing woman, and that's really neat that she continued to support your dream throughout it. I think that's so important. Music is the industry is so bizarre right now because it's easier to get stuff out there, but it's so hard financially for musicians to be able to make it. It's so different than it used to be. And there's obviously pros and cons to what the industry is doing now, but it just breaks my heart how much our um artists, musicians are not being uh financially given what we get as people, emotionally for it. I mean, without music, I think so many of us would be have even worse mental health, and with it being a language everybody speaks and being so important, it just seems so devastating that they're not getting paid what they should be getting.
I mean, when they break through, I think there's money there, but I don't know that
But
yet.
the breakthroughs, even the ones that, like for example, August Burns Red, they're not a small band.
Oh God,
They
no.
work their butts off. They were on tour all the time for a while. And I don't, and that's, what you have to do anymore. You have to be away from family, away from friends outside of your bandmates. And it's just unfortunate. As awesome as thankful as I am for live shows and for all that, it's just unfortunate how much it has to go into it in order to make it work.
I think honestly, with you even just saying that though, I think that's coming across as quite apparent. I do see a shift, hopefully one
I
day,
hope so too.
um, because I think people are realizing that like as much as when I was 15, I was like, man, I want to go on tour and I'll never come home and it'll be the best. And then when I started to get the opportunity to go around, and we've done like Europe a lot and done like quite extended length of tours and stuff, and it's a roller coaster because you're like your diet is terrible, your sleeping pattern's terrible, your comfort changes every day. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's awful. You're driving through the night, you're sleep deprived, you're exercising for an hour on the show, but you pull a muscle, you're still pulling that muscle the next day. And it does take a physical and mental toll entirely.
Mhm,
And I think it's good that people should know that because
mhm.
then you can appreciate it even more, you know? Like I go see shows now and like huge bands. I went to see Paramore not long ago. And I was just like, how are they still like go they are always going and like they have not dropped a note, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to be that on it and that good and to still have to deal with all these like just the relentless work of a touring cycle is
Oh,
it's commendable to say the least.
yeah. 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 Yeah, but also at what expense? It's that balance thing of hopefully they're all, mentally healthy and feeling not feeling the loss of family time and all that kind of stuff. Because I think
Totally.
that's what makes it hard, finding that balance. But a lot of people thrive in that environment too. So
I love it. I
yeah,
absolutely, if I
you're
could
one
be
of you're
away
one of them that
all the
thrives
time.
in it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mine's just constant therapy. All I'm doing is telling my feelings to a room full of people. It's great. I come back well healthy.
Hey,
Other than the
good.
diet, obviously. I drink too much, but it's fine.
Oh, that's good though. That's good. And I think the majority of the people do. Obviously, they keep doing it. The majority of the people probably do feel that way
Yeah, totally.
on the outside of not being someone obviously who's done that. I'm like, ooh, sounds tough, but I'm not a music creator either, so
It's a
I
lot of
don't know.
fun. A lot of fun.
I,
Big privilege to be allowed a shot. So
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. My husband's in a band, and so I, get to see that side of things, but obviously it's different. I play guitar, but I don't like go out and ever perform it in front of anybody. That is terrifying, terrifying to me.
I will be honest, a room with 5 people in it, like that are your family or something, is way scarier than like a room with 1,000 in it. Because you can speak to every single one of your family afterwards, and they will not be gentle with their criticism at all. I'll play like a bit of a piano at Christmas around the fire, trying to be all romantic with the family. Look at I'm in music, I'm not terrifying, and they're just like, that note was shit. Like it's so bad, man. Like
Okay, I'm never doing this again. I'm turning it in. So what do you feel like is one of the most important things during like a live performance? What do you feel like it's important to put out there for people?
I like the idea personally, and I think we as a band always kind of strive for this to be our thing. Is like, and this doesn't work with every form of music, and it doesn't work with every band. So I'm just answering from our perspective, but it's almost like you need to realize what you're doing, right? And what I think that we're trying to do is create an environment where it's okay to feel any emotion for that amount of time. And I think if you go on and you can't convince yourself to feel properly, if
Mm,
you don't put your all into it, I think that's very transparent. And you can't
mm,
expect someone else to get anything positive or negative or anything from that show unless you're there. So I think that every show we play, I think all of the guys are sitting holding on to, like, a lot of the stories that we talk about are influenced by what they've done, and I'll write about their side of things and stuff. And like I know for a fact our bass player Tippett has a couple of lyrics in a song where he roars them on stage, and he's like he'll get tears in his eyes because they're written for him and how he felt in that moment, and he needs to deliver that to show everyone in that room that it's okay for them to deliver their emotion back, and that's okay. I think honesty especially in metal, it's you need to be truthful, or else you'll just be transparent.
mhm. Yeah, I agree. And I agree it is something that the crowd notices. I think I know I notice, but I think probably the majority of people do notice whether it's a genuine performance or not, whether the people are, depending on what kind of band they are, like having fun or delivering what they are um talking about, if it's real or not, I think
Yeah,
people can tell.
exactly. I know that like my band's quite an emotional band, so it sounds like everything I'm talking about is like on a negative spectrum. But I'm talking about if I went to see a ska band, unless that trumpet guy is dancing his ass off, I don't care. Like I want to see them being what they want to be, and I think it's just whatever your intentions are. If you can stay true
Mhm,
to that in a live performance, it comes across to the entire audience, and I think every show would it's better.
mhm. Yep, I agree. So there's a couple songs by the end of it. You have like it seems like the song's over and then it goes into like an acoustic kind of afterthought, you know.
Yeah.
There was two of them that I remember that you do that with. I think there's only two. There might be more, but I feel like
There
there's
is
only
two
two.
with an acoustic, but yeah, you've got it.
Yeah. So what led you guys to kind of transition into that? It's a really neat transition in both of them.
So the first one is in a song called 15 Years.
Hmm.
Songs about the perspective of meeting yourself at 15 years old and at 30 years old, and your 15-year-old self actually being proud of who you've become. And that song is one of my favorites personally on the record. Um, and it was written on an acoustic guitar, like the chords just were there. And we got to the end of the song, and there's no acoustic guitar in it or anything. And I remember we were like, that could just be done. But I hate ending songs the same, right? I know there's two with an acoustic, but they're different, trust me.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. It still is different, even yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, what have we not done yet? And then I remembered, like, well, the chords were written on this guitar, and it was in the room, like me and Kieran, the drummer, again roommates. We've just moved house, but the whole record was written in our last house. And so we just put up a microphone in the living room, and he sang and I played guitar, and we just got a one pass. There's no click track or anything. It was just us playing the song, and it was like it was just capturing a moment. Do you know what I mean? A
Mhm.
moment between two friends who make stuff together in this environment, and we lit the microphone. There's no treatment. It was terrible. It's just a living room. So it's the sound of our living room, and it's that was the reason for the first one. The second one is actually it's in recovery. It's at the end of
Mhm.
the last song. There's just a little thing there. This is my pretentious arty guy coming out. The last record was called Something to Remember Me By, and it ends on me playing an acoustic and then just talking about the whole story of the record. I always really liked the idea of that. Like it's a big metal band and stuff. And in the last record we didn't even sing, it was all shouting. I always liked the idea of the acoustic to end the record. So at the end of recovery, it was all finished, and I was like, I have a little riff, and I just want to say like something. So the 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 last one, the last acoustic bit at the end of recovery it's an ode to getting better, almost a promise. And it mentions my mom, it mentions my friends, and it mentions all the things that I rely on for support. And it kind of just promises those people, like I realize sometimes I can be a little bit rough, but this time next year I'll kind of be better, was like my idea. And
Mhm.
I think if we go forward doing more records, I think there will always be a little acoustic thing at the end just to kind of sum it up, and just kind of, if you think about the first song being the start of the book, then that little acoustic number at the end is just the final chapter, just kind of close the book, now we can relax. And I think as a listener it's less abrasive, it's just a nice little piece of music that just ends the record, and now you don't have to worry anymore.
Yeah, I love
That's
that
all.
little bit of a breather after the emotional roller coaster you put us through.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's the
I
one.
but those two songs are the two like more uplifting ones on
Yeah,
it, and might be the only two that are like very hope driven, because the rest of them are more storytelling of this is, this is the emotional experience of these scenarios. But recovery, yeah, I'm trying to remember what the lyric was, something about seeing the beauty in life.
yeah,
um and so yeah, it really, and I love that's the last song of, hey, I know that there is a lot of tough stuff in life that we're going through, um or that you've gone through, or that I've gone through, or whatever. But there's still beauty in life, and there's still hope at the end of it. And I like that that's the song that you guys ended it all with.
yeah. I kind of felt like the entire idea of the song was to try and mention, getting better throughout most of the songs, but I found that I did resort to storytelling. I did talk about these things, and there is there is little moments in songs where I'm like, see, there's the hope, but you do have to find it. With those two songs specifically, those are everything is going to get better. That and the cave as well has a meaning where it's it's going to be okay. But I actually found it difficult to put the hope in at certain times just because of what was going on.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so I do think it comes across to me, but that's because I'm far too close to it. But
Mhm.
I do love the last track, just to kind of like tell the world that, like, I it is a promise, like it's gonna get better.
Yeah. So when you do your set list for live shows, is that one that you plan to end it with? Is it kind of the same idea?
So it's not really, but we did open with Addict, which is, good. Um, we ended up not. So I'm not sure if we're gonna do Recovery. So I have this thing now and again, where I like to do certain songs and preserve a moment. So I think in Recovery, I think that was just one vocal from start to finish, and then that was it. And I kind of told the guys, I was like, look, I just for my own arty little mind, I just want to capture this exact moment and never do it again, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I set myself up. I'm that guy. I like lit a candle in my room and set my lights to red and closed all the curtains, and And I got myself in that headspace, and I did that, and at the end of it, once it was finished, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever do that again.
Hmm.
And if you go through it, you can listen. There are shouts that you would call squeaks. I would call them squeaks, uh, where I just lose it a little bit and stuff like that. And all those imperfections are the things that I really like about it, because it, especially with the lyrical content of having scratches on your canvas, that
Hmm.
it's no one's perfect, but you can still find beauty in things that aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And so I left that as one. And so far, there's been no chat about doing that one live, because it is just a moment in time. And everyone who hears it will hear that that 5 minutes or however long the song is that happened once and once only. But
Hmm.
if it turns out one day someone's like, you should do this, and enough people say it, it probably will be done. But at the moment, it's
You're like,
at the
I could be
moment,
talked into it, but right now that's not on the table.
yeah, I thought I was being cool and capturing a moment, and if someone goes, okay, the moment was cool, do it again, I'll go, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it though. Like you can't force a moment to be the same as it was originally. That's not how that works. So I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. There's a couple of them that are a little bit like that. Normally the heavier ones, like the sadder ones, are just kind of caught in the moment. And we do some of the sadder ones live and stuff, but you've got to watch. You've got to watch, because you don't want to do them all, because then that's a really hard night.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Especially if you're doing a tour and you're doing it night after night. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
too much. So are you guys planning a tour now? Do you have one planned?
We're still in the process of booking, so we're talking to a
Okay.
couple more booking agents and stuff, and going through our label and seeing what we could do with other bands that are on the label and stuff. So
Right.
hopefully soon we'll be able to announce some stuff, because I am dying to get back out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now that you can too. I mean, for a few years that, or for a couple of years, that wasn't,
Yeah, totally.
a thing. So being able to actually have the opportunity now, yeah, let's go, especially with the album coming out.
Yeah, that's my hope right there. And I honestly, like, as a band, we I've said it a couple of times, but we are just a group of friends, right? And
Mhm.
our main thing is that we get to travel and see different places and meet different people, and that's the reward. Like,
Right.
making the record is cathartic and a nice experience for everyone. But mostly, I think I take from making the record, I take the most from it, because it's such an outlet for me. But then when we play shows, it's the whole band. They're the show. I
Mhm.
just do the words, and they get, and we just go, and it's camaraderie and meeting people and experiencing the world, and that's a cool place to be. So as soon as that can happen again, I'm in.
That, yeah, 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 I could see how that definitely would be an exciting adventure, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Like
Yeah.
just be in a van for 5 weeks with your best friends.
Right.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. We're actually, my family's talking about Scotland as somewhere that I wanted to go since I was like in junior high. My great grandfather came over from Scotland, and so we have pretty strong Scottish ties, and
Oh,
it's just somewhere I've always wanted to go. So my family is talking about going next summer, I think. Um, I'm really excited, and I think we're gonna try to go down to Wales to Snowdonia as well.
oh, cool.
Um, yeah, a little pretty area over there, but yeah,
Yeah,
so it's a pretty area
it's a beautiful country. I think a lot of people take it for granted when we live here. I think that's just the case with everywhere.
for sure.
Uh, I can open my door and see a mountain range with the ocean in the back, and that's really cool. But to me,
Yeah,
that's just what outside my door looks like.
right.
But yeah, if you do, it is a beautiful place, and it's great. Just bring an umbrella, because it's
I
always raining.
I love the rain, so that doesn't bother me at all. In Idaho we get all four seasons, pretty intensely. Like it's triple digits, right? Yeah, I think it's probably 100 today.
Oh
But
wow.
then we'll go down to, the negatives, in Fahrenheit, obviously, the
Sure.
negatives in the winter. And so we get like a whole wide range of, but we have woods and mountains and stuff. We're basically one big park in Idaho. Um, and I love the mountains. I can't imagine looking out my door and not seeing mountains. I think of the flatlands in other areas of the world, and I think, what do you see? It's so weird to me to not see a mountain.
I
But
get that though.
right,
I,
like it will, so there's just nothing.
I'm like that with the ocean. Ocean's a big calling for me. It was like
Yeah.
a massive part of it. I just like I've always lived literally a 5 minute walk from the beach. Like that's
Oh,
always
geez.
and anywhere in the UK you're an hour, well, maybe like 3 to 4 hour drive, but that's the most, and you're at the ocean. And luckily where we live, we are literally right on it. And so when you end up somewhere that's like landlocked, I'm like, this is weird, man. Like what are you doing?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. We only have rivers here. We're not by the
sure.
ocean at all. And I read a book a year or two ago called Blue Mind that talks about the science about being in, on, or around water and how important it is for your mental health. And that's why we're so addicted to wanting to be places like that. I would love to be near an ocean. So having mountains and ocean right there is,
It's pretty good.
I mean, what is, yeah, just like a dream come true.
Yeah.
Don't
We
take
also
it for
have a
granted.
rule. Yeah, we also have a rule in the band is like if you are traveling anywhere and see a body of water, bad things happen if you don't get in the water. It's like no matter what, everyone, everyone in. Because if you don't, I swear this is scientifically proven. We were in Budapest and we had like 6 hours to kill before the show. And we found a water park and we're like, obviously we're going to the water park. The band that we were out with were like, we're not going to the water park. I was like, man, bad things happen if you don't get in the water. And they were like, no. We're just gonna go to Starbucks. We're gonna get some coffee. We're gonna chill. And I was like, cool. We went to the water park. They went to get coffee. Someone broke into their van and took every piece of equipment. Our van was
Oh,
parked at the water park though, and we had a great time. Like bad things happen when you don't get in the water. It's a rule,
afterwards, I bet now that band's probably like, okay, let's just hit
man.
every
If
water place.
anyone believes that bad things happen when you don't get in the water, it is that bad.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. That's so crazy that you guys said that and then that happened. Oh my gosh, how terrible. I mean, it's
I
not
mean, it was
funny,
awful, but to
but
look
it's
back
also
on, yeah.
right, right. Hopefully they like
Everyone was
figured all
fine.
that
There was a
out.
Kickstarter. It's fine.
Jeez, jeez. Oh my goodness. Oh, well, thank you so much for taking all this time with me. I'm sure I went way over. I wasn't even paying attention to the time, but
I honestly I didn't get given a time, and I'm just thankful that anyone would want to have a chat. So thank you
yeah,
so much.
well, I it's an important album. Like I said, I am pretty, I'm busy with obviously what I do with my work, and so I have to be very very choosy with the interviews that I do, just because I don't have a whole lot of time. And uh I'll be 100% honest with you. I saw Scotland and was like, okay, I'm gonna check stand out just because it says they're from Scotland. I don't get a lot of those. But then
Sure.
when I heard it, um, I was like, okay, this needs to be covered and this needs to be talked about. And I really hope that you guys get more and more recognized out there because I do think what you're doing is so important. Even with anybody and everybody that can hear it, I think they're going to get a lot from it. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to all of us. The other guys would be there, like here, if they could, but most of them are camera shy, so I get stuck doing this stuff.
You're
But I
already the
like it.
face anyway, so
Oh,
you're
dude,
like,
I just like chatting to people. Like I'm fine. I'm like this is fine. But yeah, no, thank you for everything that you've said and for taking the time to speak to me. I really do appreciate it, and like it's been fun.
yes, the same. Hopefully you guys make it over to the States sometime. I know it's expensive and I know it's
Dying
really,
to.
really difficult, but I hope that you guys
Oh,
are able to.
yep, we'll pay it because it's a life experience and it sounds fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting over here, but lots of shows you get to do.
It looks amazing. It's as a kid, you grow up and I watch TV and stuff like that, and the UK America equivalency, it's like it's almost like it feels like it would feel like home to a
Hmm.
degree because I'm so used to everything media wise is all America and it's all, and that's exciting to me. And because I've never had the opportunity to go, I've never even been as like a
No.
tourist or anything.
Oh no.
I know, so there is a part of America that is calling my name that I feel like I'm gonna get there one day, and when I do, it's gonna be a very big relief. So
Is there a certain part of the states that you're the most excited to see?
so I'm obviously, just because I've never been anywhere, right?
Uh-huh.
I have to just get excited about like the biggies, right?
Yeah.
So my favorite music ever is like Midwest emo. So anywhere in the Midwest, like anywhere, I would be so excited.
Oh,
Uh, I would love to go to New York just to see it because
yeah.
apparently people say it's some people say it's better than you expect. Some people say that it's maybe like you blow it out of proportion, but I'm quite a level guy in terms of like expectation. I
Hmm.
expect nothing, and then when it's better, I get excited about it.
Yeah.
So, but there's even just little things like my culture shock is my favorite thing, and like
Yeah.
I said, we have very similar cultures, but there
Yeah.
will be something that I'll turn up to in each city or each state or whatever it is that will blow my mind. I was speaking to someone from Canada yesterday, and they were like, "Oh, our milk comes in bags," and I was like, "They're what?" Like
That's
instead of
something
like a
I didn't
jug,
know that either.
it comes in bags, and they have to like snip it, and it sounds like it's going to go everywhere.
All right.
And right, it's ridiculous, but that to me, it's nothing. But it's that sounds exciting, and there'll be that little moment everywhere you go. So
Yeah.
I'd just be excited to go anywhere.
You know what? I
Oh,
think,
also, I'm pretty bad. Oh, sorry, on you.
oh,
I also I'm terrible in the heat. Like being from Scotland, I am a cold boy. So I think anywhere I go, I'm just gonna melt and try and find AC instantly.
just try to go through the like fall winter times in
Yeah,
the States. The majority of it usually cools down. There's obviously some exceptions, like Florida. I think
yeah,
it's pretty
yeah,
humid.
yeah.
But honestly, even because it's so big here, I've never been to New York, and my brother says the same thing. He's like, "You have got to go to New York because, like, a big city like that for me is super overwhelming. I don't like to be around a lot of people outside of concerts.
Sure.
I'm an anxious person, and so it's just too much for me." Plus, like the big buildings stuff makes me feel like I would suffocate. But my brother's like, you have to experience it because it's like a whole other world. So even within the states, like there's different areas that are like very, very different. You know, the South is very different from the North, and
Totally.
Texas is very different than California, even though they're right next to each other. You know,
Yeah, totally.
it's interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, my goal one day is just to have like 3 months off and just be like, right, I'm just doing it all. I'm
Yeah.
going everywhere. I want to know everything. I would love that.
If you ever do that, I'd be so curious to hear what your favorite parts of the area would be because it's so different.
I'm on Instagram. Get in touch, and I will keep you in the loop.
Yes. Cool. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I'm gonna
Thank you.
go and get coffee.
Yeah, enjoy your mid morning, afternoon kind of feel.
I'm going to. I have today off from work, so my son's in Washington, visiting his dad. So I am going to try to keep myself busy and not be sad that he's gone.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Awesome. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.